this is arguably the back end of the design of animals. But the reason I put this up here is because when I was in Africa last year, my wife and I were driving around. We had this wonderful guide who showed us something that surprised both of us, and it was very revealing in terms of the fascination that comes with the design of animals. It turns out in about the 1880s, the missionaries came to Africa to spread the word of Christianity, to teach English to the natives, and they brought blackboards and chalk, and I'd like you to imagine that that's a blackboard, and I just used some chalk on there. And they brought quite a bit of this stuff, but over the years, the blackboards were fine, but they ran out of chalk. And this was a real crisis for them. And that's where the hyena comes in. The hyena is probably the most perfectly designed scavenging animal in the world. It strip mines carcasses, and it has amazing teeth because it enables the hyena to essentially eat bones. Now, the end product of that action is up on the board here. And what the missionaries would do is they'd walk around and they'd pick up hyena shit. And the incredible thing about hyena shit is it makes great chalk. Now, that's not what I'm here to talk about, but it is a fascinating aspect of animal design. What I'm here to talk about is the camel. When I started talking to Richard about what I was going to speak about, I had recently come back from Jordan, where I had an amazing experience with a camel. And we were in the desert.
That's the end of his talk.
Yeah. We were in the desert in Wadi Rum in a small Jeep. There were 4 of us, 2 Bedouin drivers. And you can just imagine just expanses, an ocean of sand, 105 degrees, 1 water bottle. And we were driving in what they told us was their very, very best Jeep. Didn't look like it to me. And as we started to sort of go through the desert, the Jeep broke down. The guys got out, they put the hood up, they started working under the hood, got it going again, about 100 yards, it broke down. This went on about 6 or 7 times, and we were getting more and more alarmed, and we were also getting deeper and deeper into the desert. And eventually, our worst nightmare happened. They flooded the engine. And they said, no problem. We just get out and walk. I said, we get out and walk. 1 water bottle, remember, guys, 4 people. I said, yeah, we'll walk, we'll find some camels. So we got out and walked, and sure enough, about half a mile, we came over the crest of this hill, and there was a huge gathering of Bedouin with their camels. The guy went up, started dickering, and $10 later, we had 4 camels. They went down like elevators. We got on them. They went back up. And the Bedouin, each Bedouin, 4 of them, got behind each of the camels with a little whip. And they started slashing away at the back of the camels, and they started galloping it. If you've ever been on a camel, it is a very, very uncomfortable ride. There's also one other aspect about these camels. About every 10 steps, they lean back and try to take a chunk out of your leg. So we kept on going, and this camel kept on trying to take a chunk out of my leg. And eventually, 3 miles later, we arrived at our destination where a Jeep was supposed to meet us. And the camels come down again like elevators. We sort of clumsily get off, and they obviously try to take another chunk out of my leg. And I've developed a very wonderful relationship with this creature by this point. And I realized, like, this is a mean son of a bitch. And much meaner, by the way, than the Bedouin who greeted me and tried to sell me one of his 26 daughters to take back to the States. So as we talked, Richard and I said, maybe I should bring a camel. I think the camel's the best designed animal in the world. And we kind of went, nah, I don't think we want to be bringing a camel. And you should be really glad we decided not to bring the camel. So I did the next best thing. I went to the Washington Zoo. Richard said, I want you to get up close and personal with this camel. I want you to inspect its mouth, look at its teeth, go underneath it, go above it, go around it, pull its tail up, take a look in there. I want you to get as close to that camel as you possibly can. So I got a National Geographic film crew. We went down there, and I took one look at this camel. It is a 2,000-pound creature who was in rut. Now, if you've ever seen a 2,000-pound camel in rut, it is a scary, scary thing to behold. And if Richard thought I was getting in the ring with that camel, someone was smoking Bedouin high grade. So we got as close to it as possible. And I'm going to share this, Chris, if you want to roll this film, and then I'm going to show you a little bit more about the design of camels. You want to roll the film?
Hello, this is Keith Bellows with the TAG National Geographic Camel Investigation Unit, here to look at the ultimate desert machine.
You'll note I started chewing gum because I was around this camel all day.
That's it, okay. No. See, now he's getting a little overexcited, so we want to be very careful around him. Don't let him get you. Stop. Now you can see copious amounts of saliva in there. I always call myself the unstable stable boy. Their nose, you can see his nose is flared right now. When they're at rest, they're similar to seals in the way that, like a seal has to open its nose to breathe. And they're similar. They have to kind of consciously open their nose. Ears, but they are small. They have excellent hearing, but not a big. For instance, in zebras, they have a huge ear that are very mobile, so they can actually turn them both around. And they use them same as we use our binocular vision. They use that to pinpoint sound. Where they live is very extremely windy as well as being very cold. So not only do they have the the very long eyelashes, but there's secondary, I guess they call it the griside or whatever, but it's just hair is above the eyes and below it. It's longer. Most people think that the humps are store water. They don't. They store fat. But, and I'm not a chemist, but basically what happens is the fat is oxidized by their breathing, and that will turn it into actually usable water. Like a lot of predators, they walk on their toes, but there's a big fat pad in there that squishes out, and they're like snowshoes, but with sand. Hooves. They don't have traditional hooves, but they do have one like big nail. You can't really see it too big because the fur is kind of grown over with. They use their tails a lot, especially him in rut. He will urinate and spin his tail to spread the urine around and make him more attractive to females.
It works for them, so what the hell?
They also would defecate in certain areas. Generally, they kind of poop wherever they want to, but during rut, they will defecate in like perimeter areas. I don't know if you've read or heard about, the subsonic sounds from elephants. What I mean? Like these big rumbling sounds. He will do the same thing, and you can actually see right here it will vibrate. We weigh our animals. Unfortunately, he's a very aggressive animal, so he's actually destroyed we have these big things that I weigh the bison on, for instance. I'm guessing that he's at least 1,600 pounds, and I put him closer to 2,000. He's basically a walking mulch pile. We're kind of like buds, but I'm also a male as well. Yeah, exactly. And it makes them very dangerous at this time of year. Don't even think about it. Don't think about that. But now we're gonna leave. Out! 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 No.
what I didn't show you was, you got that swinging thing going? Well, and you're glad I didn't show you this. One of the other things about the camel that's beautifully designed is that its penis points backwards. That way the camel can dip its tail in the stream and just lacquer the entire area around him. And that's how he really marks his territory. Now, what you also didn't see was that, and you may have noticed in the pen beside him, and by the way, the camel's name is Suki. In the pen beside him is Jasmine. Jasmine has been his mate for some time, but on this particular occasion, it was very, very clear that as horny as Suki was, Jasmine was having none of it. And so we started thinking, well, if poor old Suki's in search of a mate, what would Suki do to find the perfect mate? So I'm going to show you another film, but before I do, I just want to mention that this animal truly is the sort of the SUV of the sand, the ship of the desert. It's so vital to the inhabitants of the areas in which the camel is found, largely Mongolia and Sahara, that there are 160 words in Arabic to describe the camel. And if this is a creature that was designed by committee, it's certainly been like no committee I've ever been on. So here's what Suki would do in search of a mate. Can you roll it, please?
I call you, I need you, my heart's on fire. You come to me wild and wild. You come to me, give me everything I need. Give me a lifetime of promises and a world of dreams. Speak the language of love like you know what it means. And it can't be wrong. Take my heart and make it strong. We're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone. Anyone I ever met. Ooh, I'm stuck on your heart. I hang on every word you say. Oh, tears apart. No. Baby, I would rather be dead. Each time you leave me, I start losing control. Walking away with my heart and my soul. I can feel you even when I'm alone. Oh, baby, now let go.
Thank you. I just want to leave you with one last thought, which is probably the most important thing to take away. Humans, the animal, are pretty lucky creatures because by and large, we really don't have to adapt to our environment. We adapt our environment to us, and we've seen that repeatedly through this conference, not just this year, but in past years. But this creature that you've just seen ultimately adapts and keeps adapting and adapting. And I think when you look at the animal kingdom, that is one of the most remarkable things. It doesn't have an environment that adapts to it. It has to adapt to the environment. Ricky, thank you very much for having me.
Terrific. Thank you.